All right, welcome back, guys. This is the Carter Studio Sessions #2. We're here at the beautiful Carter Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, and I just want to thank Carter Vintage Guitars for allowing us to be here and record with these artists, and I am very excited to announce who we have here. So last time we did the Carter Studio Sessions, we talked to Zach Meadows, and this time we're going to be talking to Miss Sophie Gault. How are you doing, lady?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Thank
you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked to have you. I've been reading a ton about her, and I think you guys are going to love her story, and I love your music, so I'm excited to dive more into the inspo behind where you get your inspo. So let's just dive right into the music. Tell me what you've been up to lately and what do you have on the horizon?
So I've just been sort of gearing up to release my second album.
Okay.
Which has been kind of a long time coming. I recorded it last year. So I've sort of been trying to figure out how I'm going to promote it and release it and stuff. And it's finally coming out September 20th.
September 20th. Okay, right around the corner.
Yep.
And that's right around the time too of Americana Fest and stuff. Are you participating in that this year?
Yes.
Tell me about it. Okay, tell me about it. I'm so excited.
I have a showcase for Americana Fest on the 17th, and then I do TMG, the management group that I'm under, is doing a day party. I think that's the 18th.
Okay. She's running through the calendar in the head.
Yeah, I was trying to flip through.
Compute.
Right. There's another thing too. Whiskey Jam. I'm doing a whiskey jam.
Oh, you're doing a whiskey jam?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And so there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's always a very busy week. So
for an album release.
Yeah, and for an album release, just in general, and then on top of that, an album release. So, yeah.
So what's the sophomore album going to be called?
Baltic Street Hotel.
Baltic Street Hotel?
Yep.
Okay. And is that an ode to somewhere that you had been before, where you used to live?
Yeah, I stayed in this hotel in Brooklyn when I was promoting my first album, and it was called the Baltic Hotel, and it got into one of the lyrics in one of my songs that's on the album. So as I was looking through potential album titles, I was just like, oh, that would be a cool album title. Yeah.
It's very mysterious, what's going to happen.
Yeah, it could be.
Kind of thing.
You're right. It could be anything. If people could take their guess.
It's adventurous, or it's not. So you said that's been in the works for 2 years?
Yeah, pretty much 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, speaking of lately, because I asked you what you're up to lately, you recently put out a single, I think just earlier this year, of the same name, right? Yeah. Lately, with the album, or with management roster mate Gabe Lee.
Yeah.
Tell me where that came from. What's the inspo behind you guys working together in that song?
Yeah, so I had done a duet song called Trouble on my first album, and I really liked doing that. I thought it was a cool experience to, get out there. I did it with Logan Ledger on that song, and I just think it's a cool way to meet people and sort of, kill two birds with one stone and have a lot of fun doing it. So I decided to write a song to be a duet, which is the first time I'd ever done that, because Trouble was a song I'd sung by myself for years, and then I just had Logan come and sing.
Very cool.
The second verse and stuff. But this one was different because I wrote it to be a duet, and so we had different ideas of who it could be, but then I was like, I think Gabe's the guy. I had been touring with Gabe.
Yeah.
He's such a good singer. He's such a good songwriter. And I was like, you know what? It's got to be Gabe Lee. So we had him come in, and he killed it.
Absolutely. I talk about Gabe all the time. I love his songwriting.
Yeah.
And Zach was talking about him last time too, how he was a big idol of him. And then you have a duet with Gabe, and he's definitely made a name for himself, which is awesome. So that's really cool that you got to do that. And I was going to say too that Trouble is probably my favorite song of yours, because when I was going through your catalog, it's oh, this one's catchy. I like this a lot. And then Logan Ledger is also somebody that I love listening to and talk about a lot. The whole Space Corner roster is actually pretty solid.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Love that. So in listening to your music over the past couple of days, and I know you've gotten this a lot, and I think maybe she's one of your inspos, but to me, when I hear your sound, it's like a combo between Lucinda Williams and Stevie Nicks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, yes.
Cool. Yeah, I love those two.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, whenever you're explaining your music or your sound to someone who's never heard you before, how would you do that? What would you say?
Yeah, I think there's a big Lucinda influence for sure. I mean, she's the one that I heard her and everything kind of made sense after I heard her music.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna write songs. So she's the big one, of course. And I love Stevie Nicks too. love Emmylou Harris. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Big influence. Bonnie Raitt's a big influence.
Oh my gosh, I love Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So you are playing Americana Fest. Is that like, I don't know, would you put yourself in Americana? Is that just, do you feel like that's just like a broad like umbrella of kind of what you do or
broad.
what? Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's so incredibly broad that I don't even know what it is anymore. But I mean, I it's a place where a lot of us that sort of don't fit into like genres like country per se feel like we belong, because it's sort of more inclusive of like, genres that fall between
rootsy kind of
exactly. And so that's I love Americana for that. I've met so many cool people and made so many friends in the Americana world, and it is broad, but it's also a good thing that it's so broad, you know?
Right, because people can kind of, I guess, make their own assumption or thought about what you sound like, and it's just very diverse. I feel like a lot of people from a lot of different genres, fan bases, would then enjoy the music that you make, because it is kind of like, you know, a crossover between a few. Well, speaking of Lucinda Williams, I know you worked with Ray Kennedy a little bit. Is it on the album coming out, or the one coming out?
Coming out, yeah.
Cool.
Well, Ray Kennedy also mixed my first album.
Okay.
So he was involved the first time around too, but this time he was the producer.
Well, for those who don't know who that is, will you kind of tell a little bit who he is and then what the experience was like working with him?
Yeah, so Ray was like a hit songwriter in the 90s, hit country songwriter, singer in the 90s. And he started doing production, engineering work for different people. He's worked a bunch with Steve Earle, a bunch with Lucinda Williams, and you know, countless other people too. I mean, he's very, people look to him for a great sound. He has all this like old analog equipment at his studio, so he gets, you know, people from all over the world that want to work with him. So he's very knowledgeable at what he does.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's awesome. He's worked with so many different people. Steve Earle is just one of the ones too that I'm just like, yes. I was going through my boyfriend's stuff the other night and I found like a live record of Steve Earle and I was like, wow, this is great. Let's just put this on. Your first album, Delusions of Grandeur. Talk to me about what it was like putting that together, and I guess kind of some of the inspiration behind your freshman album and where you were with your life at that point, and kind of how things have changed since then.
Well, it's funny because when I knew I was going to be able to make an album, which I didn't think, I had sort of quit music or had the idea that I was going to quit music by that point, and was in grad school to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
And I was living in Murfreesboro. I had left Nashville, and I just like wasn't really as interested anymore. But I had like enough songs to make an album, and it became clear that I had this record deal that I got with this label called Petaluma. They're now called Strong Place Records, but I just was like, okay, well, it was like, I'm gonna do this, and at least I can say I did it. And then I surprisingly got some pretty good reviews on it, and it was like enough to sort of be like, and Ray was involved. He was very supportive of it, and I was enough to get me more confidence that I'd sort of lost. So a lot of the songs in that album were older. They were songs that I'd been playing for years, and finally had grouped them together.
Yeah. You did get some really good reviews. There was like a mention in Rolling Stone, or I
don't know about for that album, but for a recent single I got
a recent single,
mention in Rolling Stone, which was also surprising. I'm like, wow,
that's amazing.
So you know, those things, I don't know how much they really mean, but to me as a songwriter, someone who's going to quit music, I'm like, wow, I've come way further than I thought I ever would.
Yeah, it's like a validation though, or maybe like that step that just kind of pushed you towards, all right, you know, I'm just going to continue to pursue this.
Right.
Is music something that from a young age you were like, this is it? Or did it kind of take a few years for you to develop an interest in, or like a desire to pursue anything musical?
Yeah, it's like as a kid, as a teenager, young 20-something, I was like, I didn't really know what else to pursue. It was like, music was like such a big hobby of mine that it took up a lot of time that I just didn't have any other interests really. So I sort of fell into it in a way, and I just kept doing it, and things have happened since then. So
That's cool. I love it when people are just like, yeah, I just kind of fell into it. Like it was something that you love so much and were so interested, and then it just became a dream, and now it's a reality. You know? How has your sound evolved over time? I think that first album was under a different name or with you in a different band. Kind of like, how have you evolved?
Sophie and the Broken Things.
The Broken Things, got it.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the musicians I'm playing with. Like that album, Delusions of Grandeur, I was playing with Lemmy Hayes on drums, Twan Haugen on bass, and Jules Belmont on guitar. And that combination of musicians is just different. Yeah. And as a result, I probably played and sang a little bit different. And that'll happen with every different group of musicians that you play with. Like on this most recent album, I played with a great group of session players, Joshua Grange, Steve Mackey, and Lynn Williams. And it was a different chemistry, different group of people, just as good, just different. Yeah. And so that probably affected my performance as well. And I think it's really cool to just play with as many different musicians as you can. Yeah. And that affects your sound.
Yeah, most definitely. You never really know what it's going to come out like, but it's like this beautiful mess. It's very collaborative. Everyone brings their own thing to it. Right. That's super cool. I'm really excited to hear the new one then, which you will have coming out on September 20th.
September 20th.
One of your songs, if we can get into your history a little bit, Christmas in the Psych Ward is something that was a very personal, like experience-based thing for you. Will you talk to us a little bit about what that experience was, share what you were struggling with, and then I'll pull out this quote that you'd said because I really, really love it, but it was something along the lines of, if more people talked about it, it wouldn't feel so isolating. Right. So maybe share like what you were struggling with and why you feel like that's something that should be spoken more widely about.
Yeah, I really do think it's something that needs to be touched on more. You see TV shows that'll have characters that are, the song is talking about manic depression. It used to be called manic depression, now it's called bipolar. And specifically what the song is referring to is someone who's going through a manic episode. Okay. Which I happen to experience. And mania is not talked about as often as things like depression or addiction, the other forms of mental illness. But mania, people don't really understand it, and so they don't want to talk about it. And it can be a really isolating thing where you're like, you just acted in a way that's totally not you, and you're embarrassed or humiliated, you've lost a bunch of friends, and like, how do you talk about it? Because people don't understand it. It's still kind of taboo, you know? So I feel like that song needed to be written, and it needed to be addressed.
That's so interesting. It definitely sheds light on, like you said, things that people feel like are untouchable, almost, or like you don't want to talk about it because you don't feel like it's commonplace or politically correct, or it's too awkward, or they don't know enough about it, and that just comes with, like, you know, learning, familiarizing yourself, like putting yourself in other people's shoes. It's got to understand what's going on, like just like depression or addiction or more the like other more commonly talked about things. We said that there are some like misconceptions around like being in like a mental hospital or a psych ward. What are some of those misconceptions that you want to kind of, you know, set straight?
Yeah, there's so many misconceptions about it. I mean, if you say some people think that if you say you've been to a psych ward, you know, that you're like 100% just like crazy and just totally messed up permanently. And like, it's just such a fleeting thing. The mental illness, can be so under control, you know, with medication and lifestyle and all that. And like, it's just funny to me. And people also think that like manic depression or bipolar is like one day you're sad and the next day you're happy. It's like this fleeting, but it's like, it's a slow build up to how it changes your mind and like your personality. It's not so black and white kind of overnight type of thing. It's, I don't know. I would recommend to anyone that wants to know more about it, just go and read online about it, or read books about it, because there's just a lot to learn.
Right. It's not all that the movies and media paint it to be, right? Which I think is kind of like everything, but we're not going to get into that here. Right. How has that experience change your approach or your creative style, going forward in your writing, or like kind of the things that you want to talk about in your songs or your storytelling?
Yeah, I think it's made me less afraid to. I'll write about anything.
Yeah.
And writing that song sort of opened the door for me. Like, I can really talk about anything in my songs that I want to, and anyone should. Anyone writing songs should, I feel like, write about anything. The more uncomfortable it is, I feel like the better it could be.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. It just makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I really like that. You don't always have to write about trucks and boots and girls and alcohol and red Solo cups and all.
Right.
We won't go there either. This isn't one of those shows. Well, outside of music, what are some of your hobbies? Like, what do you like to do if there's a, gosh forbid, a day off or like downtime? What are you doing?
I love to hang out with my dog. I have a dog.
Oh, what kind of dog?
She's a healer mix.
Oh.
Yeah, she's
cute.
A lot of energy, very high energy dog. So I like to hang out with her. I like to cook.
Nice.
Yeah, so not much else. I've been playing dice with friends.
Okay. That's fun.
Actually, with Gabe's band, they're big dice players too. King Margot, and we've been playing dice when we're on the road together, and it's been a lot of fun. So
sometimes you got to pass the time with. Yeah, that's fun. No, are you originally from this area, or did you move in at some point to continue to pursue music?
Yeah, I moved here 10 years ago. I was going to college in upstate New York, and I'm originally from Maryland. So.
Gotcha. Where in upstate New York?
Central New York, a town called Oneonta.
Okay. I have a friend that went to Rochester. I don't know is that more north than...
Yeah, way more north.
Way more north.
Yes.
Like
but I knew some people from Rochester that were there. That's funny.
I love that. Well, you mentioned a few people a few minutes ago that you kind of took inspiration from, but when you're looking at, like your style, your songwriting, your storytelling, where do you pull inspiration from these days? Like, who are some of the people who really resonate with you a lot of the time?
It's funny. I've actually been really into Florence and the Machine.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
Her most recent album, Dance Fever, was, I thought some of the writing in that was really good. I really liked it, and I loved the production of it.
Yeah.
So it's funny, when people recommend artists to me, I listen. I'm not a huge music nerd. I wish I was more of a music nerd. Sometimes I just can't find the time to seek out new stuff, but that's one
so true. Yeah.
more current thing that I was listening to, and I was like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, I love that. That's fun. She has a really cool energy that is... Are they from Ireland? Is that a...
I think she might be Irish or British, or I'm not sure. But
okay. I could see that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Well, I also agree. A lot of people are just like, I would love to listen to a lot of new music and be recommended new artists, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah, it's hard to find the time. But I have a lot of friends that are doing it too. Like, someone else that I listen to is Margot Silker, who's a friend of mine.
Oh, is she really?
She's a great writer.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love Margot.
I love her songs. So I listen to people like her, my friends, for inspiration all the time. Gabe Lee.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yep.
And is that who, are you playing with her at some point during...
I am. I'm going to be in her band.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
all right, I have to go to that one.
in her band at the 5 spot. That's the 20th of September.
Okay.
Yep.
I love her. I did a lot on her album release a little bit too last year, and I'm glad that you said something, because I've been mispronouncing her name this entire time.
Oh, really?
I've been saying Kilker.
Oh, no.
I think it's just because, like, I don't know, I read it and I don't like go look for other interviews to like, maybe I should do that to correct myself. So it's like Silker. Got it. Well, now I know, and we'll do better next time.
Right.
Well, Sophie, you are an inspiration to many, and I'm sure everyone who listens to this. Make sure you guys mark your calendars for the 20th when her sophomore album comes out, and they're going to do a big thing during Americana Fest and an album release. Do you want to let people know where they can find you, and make sure you stream her music too? So.
Yep. Instagram. That's basically where I live these days.
Instagram. Yeah. Okay.
I just have an Instagram page. Everything gets posted on there. And
nice.
There's a link in the bio of other stuff too. So.
Do you have a pre-save out or a?
There is a pre-save. Yeah.
Make sure you go do that and go see her at one of the live shows. Buy music, buy merch. That's how we support all of the artists. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Yeah. So the surprise now is we get to actually go out on the Carter guitar floor and check out a couple of the instruments they have available. She gets to pick one, and then we're going to come back and do 2 acoustic songs. So you guys stay tuned for that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Welcome come on into Carter Vintage.
Thank you.
So I'll kind of walk you through. This is our main showroom floor here, so we'll have all of our acoustic and electric guitars all out here. I'll walk you through our acoustics right now. This is where we keep all of our Martins, all of our Gibsons, and we'll have some other kind of oddball ones in here as well. But I'll start you kind of coming through here. So this will be just a bunch of like solid old Martins. I love like some of these kind of all mahogany ones from the 30s. I think are really cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to see stuff that's been around for that long. Like this guy from 1920.
Wow.
And yeah, you always get cool ones like this. The arch tops I always love, like some good old jazz boxes. And they've been doing a really good job recently. Gibson's been reissuing a lot of their older models. So you've been getting a lot of reissues of the vintage ones.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a Roseanne Cash artist model as well there.
Very nice.
And then I've always loved Hummingbirds. I think the 70s ones are really fun. They sound great. It's just like the sound of every record that I grew up on.
Right.
Let me show you this guy. I think you'll like this. So this is a 1945 Banner SJ. So yeah, this is kind of like the fancy older brother for the J45. The ones from the 40s have really big necks on it, which I love. They started doing this during the war just because there was a shortage of materials, and the thicker necks help kind of brace against sort of the string tension. So check that guy out. Let me know what you think on that. Yeah, and it's like the right amount of wear on there where it's got some mojo.
Yeah, it's got mojo for sure.
And I always love, like, you can see up here, like it's all worn off where someone's hand was. Yeah.
That's nice.
No one plays a bad guitar enough to put wear in it like that. Right. So every time I see that, I know it's going to sound really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to use that one for today?
Yes, I do.
Awesome, cool. Let's head on back. What are you playing on now?
I have a J45. It's actually here. It's getting fixed.
Oh, cool. Okay. Right on. And I think you play a telly too, right?
Yes, I have a telly.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Come on back through this way. Head on through to the studio.
All right.
Down the back roads of your mind, looking for the answers, and you feel just like a child. Outside is colder than a concrete floor. Can't help but feel like nothing means much anymore. But they can't take your love away, take your love away. It's older than you, knows what to do. Somebody shot out all the lights. Something someone said just isn't sitting right. Maybe someone's not exactly who you thought they were. Won't be the last time, and you know it's not the first. They can't take your love away, take your love away. It's older than you, knows what to do. Truth echoes loud. Hey, are you okay? I've been calling all night, thinking about you all day, and I didn't mean to hurt you when I said those things in that way. And don't you know that I'm only human? I'm only doing things the best way I know how, trying to figure it out. Don't give up on me now, over now, over now. You building a spaceship, gonna go to the moon, run away to Mars, am I gonna have to chase you through an asteroid field, somewhere up there in the stars? And don't you know that I'm only human? I'm only doing things the best way I know how, trying to figure it out. Don't give up on me now, over now, over now, over now. Hey, are you okay? I've been calling all night, thinking about you all day.